This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted, as always, to be joined on the phone today by Frank Warren. How are you, Frank?
I'm fine, Rob. How are you?
I'm very well, Frank. Very well. As we just briefly mentioned off the phone, on the phone, but off the interview, bit bored. Not an awful lot going on. How are you finding lockdown?
I'm struggling a bit with it, but the main thing is to keep healthy. So that's what it's all about, and that's what everybody's got to follow and do. But I'm always out and about, so it's a bit of a culture shock for me. But that's what it's like for everybody. So we just got to get on with it, and it's better than the alternative.
How long have you been in quote unquote lockdown, Frank?
Well, we closed the office last week. We sent all the staff home last week, and they were working from home. But I've not been out since I think it was last Friday. So it's only a short period of time. It's not even a week, but it feels a long time. You just got to find things to do. I'm reading, I'm listening to a bit of music, just trying to do things. I'm lucky I've got where I live, there's some fields, I'm walking. But at the end of the day, we're in a position where we're all in no man's land. No one knows what the future is going to bring, and no one has any dates to aim for. In boxing, we announce a show, we have a date. The fighters train to get ready for a date so that they're in their peak condition. Well, none of us can do any of that. As the same is for a lot of people, not being able to go to work, and some people, poor people, losing their jobs. So it's difficult times for everybody, but we all got to pull together and get through it.
Can you ever remember anything even remotely like this in all of your years working in the sport, Frank?
No. I mean, the two things that do spring to mind, but I was only a kid at the time, that was in 1963 when they had the big freeze, and that shut the country down in those days. We had a really bad winter, and for about 10 weeks, the roads were in a terrible state. There was no sport on. But people still had their job. Some people couldn't go to work, and that was obviously was a bit of a problem. But they weren't. They were obviously people. There were lives lost because of how cold the weather was amongst the elderly. But nothing like it wasn't a pandemic. And I think the only other time where I think there was mass chaos was when we had the 3-day week when the miners were on strike in, I think it's about 73 with Ted Heath's government. That was also a problem. But again, people, were not dying like they're dying now and getting infected and becoming ill with this awful virus that's around.
We're just going to keep on the coronavirus bit for a little bit before we talk about, obviously, the various bits and pieces that hopefully we've got coming up soon. Yourself, Frank, obviously, it's no secret, you've been around a little bit. Are you taking additional precautions? The family making sure you're taking additional precautions at this point?
No, I'm just I think as long as you're trying, if you can, if you're in a position where you can get some exercise, make sure you do it, which is what I'll do that anyway. So I'm doing a bit of exercise and I take plenty of vitamin C and other things that you would take to help you out in your health in general. But just got to look after yourself and keep your distance. That's all you can do.
Let's move on to some of the fights that you had announced and have now been pushed back. Dubois versus Joyce. Do you know what, Frank? One of the questions that I get asked the most at the minute is which fight were you most looking forward to watching, or if you could have one fight back that's been pushed back from the coronavirus, what would it be? And the majority of answers, or certainly a high percentage of answers, has been Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce.
I can understand that. It's a very competitive fight. It's two undefeated heavyweights. The two of the next strata of heavyweights to come through. The winner of that's going to get yourself into a massively influential position as far as the future is concerned. I think they'll become a mandatory challenger and fight for a title, probably by this time next year, world title by this time next year. So it's a big fight with undefeated heavyweights, big punching heavyweights, and there's a lot on the line for the winner and obviously for the loser. So it's one we all want to see, and we're obviously very disappointed we had to postpone it to the 11th. Sorry, to the 11th. Sorry, I got it right a minute. To the 11th of July. I got it right.
Yeah, you got it right, Frank. There's a little with there being a little bit of a delay. I mean, one of the things that was most enticing about the fight was the fact that it's not because it came too soon for Daniel, but it's come soon in Daniel's career against somebody like Joe, who's so experienced as an amateur, and he's obviously racked up a few decent wins as a professional. Who do you think the layoff, if anyone, who do you think it favours, Frank?
I don't know, really. The problem both of them have got, they can't spar. There's no sparring. So at the moment, all they're doing, they're probably ticking over. They're ticking over, just keeping fit as they can be. But they're not getting sparring. And that's where, certainly from Daniel's perspective, that's what he needs, lots and lots of sparring. So there's no sparring at all. As I said, you can't bring sparring partners in from abroad. And the same it's the same for Joe as well. So at the moment, it's probably as bad for both of them. I mean, I know they're very, very disappointed. Both of them are very disappointed.
July 11th, Frank, as a date, is that something that is that an educated kind of guess as to when this could potentially
go over?
Well,
at the time, I mean, we put the date on the information that was available at the time from the government, which was said that it's probably going to take 3 months. So we went on the safe side and took an extra month. That's what they said when we delayed it, which was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now. We pushed it back. I'm not sure the exact date we did it. But, we thought if that's what they're saying, then add a month on. But at the moment, they're talking about it peaking in this country, aren't they, in 2 weeks' time? So hopefully we get over the worst of it. And, I don't know. We're obviously in the hands of the doctors and the scientists. So it's pointless me trying to second guess them. All we could do, there was a date there available, and we grabbed the date, and we felt that based upon what was being said at the time, that was probably the quickest we could get it on.
Well, hopefully it does happen, because as I say, it is such a brilliant fight, and we have had I've had personally lots of tweets and messages asking about that fight, so we do hope it happens. With regards to business, Frank, I mean, I can speak about this for myself. Obviously, I'm employed by independent boxing channel. This is going to be a significant hit to our business over the next 3 months, or however long this carries on for. We're all going to be thinking on our feet and trying to pluck up new ideas to keep things ticking over. How much of an impact is this going to have on not only your own business, but other businesses in the sport?
Well, I think it's had a major impact on everybody. I mean, the majority of people, unless you're in an industry like the food industry or the medical profession or essential services, obviously you're working. But for people, we're in the leisure industry, it's all dead. I was talking to Neil Warnock, a good friend of mine from business, the agency. They got 1,100 employees. They're on a 4-month sabbatical now, and they're talking about pushing tours back over a year. They're in the pop business, and they've got some writers and so forth. They're pushing everything back a year, and that's where it's looking. And from our perspective, it's boxing perspective. I mean, we rely on putting shows on to generate our income. That's what we do. If we're not putting shows on, there's no money coming in. So it has a real adverse effect on us. We've got our staff we've sent home. They're working from home in as much of what work they can do, because there's no work you can really do. It's not like you're out promoting shows, you're making the arrangements for shows. It's very, very difficult. So our industry and other industries are going through a very tumultuous time, and we've got to get out of it. Once hopefully they do sort this out, then how long is that road to recovery as far as business is concerned? How long is it going to take to get it all back to some sort of normality? And also the debt that everybody's picking up. It's all everybody. I mean, the government are doing the right thing by making money available to people, but they don't give you money. They're going to want it back. Mm. So it's tough. It's tough times. But you know what? All those things are there to be overcome, and they will be overcome, because that's what we do. That's what the human race does. They strive and they work hard to do it. But the most important thing that you can't buy is your health. And that matters more than anything. Yours, your family's and people's health. So just as long as you're healthy, that in itself is wealth.
Have you had any conversations? I mean, speaking specifically about the July 11th date for Dubois-Joyce, have you had any conversations, or would you be open to the possibility of having that behind closed doors, so to speak?
Look, we've looked at various things. I mean, most of the boxers are at the top end of the tree. They're hopefully, I would like to believe, with the purses they get, they're pretty financially secure. But the other guys down, starting off or in mid-range, or the journeyman, they're seriously being affected by this. And I think if we did do anything behind closed doors, and we have thought about it, and not that we'd be doing it right now, but if it did come to that, it would probably be at that level for those guys, so that they can get some income, and we can obviously put some sport out so people can watch it while they're confined to their homes. I wouldn't particularly want to be doing Daniel and Joe behind closed doors, because I think it needs the atmosphere of a huge crowd. It was nigh on sold out. It needs that atmosphere to make it more of a fight, and the fight lends itself to an atmosphere. I prefer not to be in a position to do that. Plus, obviously, the money the guys are getting paid are dependent not just on TV revenue, but also on the money generated at the gate.